Yeah, I've just seen a video of David Shaler, the old MI5 whistleblower. Now, it was so exciting, well, so unusual, it inspired me to do this little performance here because unlike David Icke, who many years ago said to Terry Wogan that we're all children of God, so Terry said, "Are you the son of God?" He said, "Well, if we're all children of God, well, of course I am." That is inclusive, because obviously if you're particularising from the general, if everyone's a son of God or daughter of God, then so is David Icke. He wasn't making any exclusive claims, but David Shaler now says that he is the son of God, also Buddha and Confucius and all the rest, and you know, it made me think, well, it's all very well saying you are, but how can you demonstrate it? As Jesus had his powers, what's David Shaler done? All he does is talk about 9/11 and goes through all the conspiracy theories that we all can, but I haven't seen a single thing where he can actually perform and show that he's any different to anybody else. Now, the interesting thing also is there's this Australian person who also claims he's Jesus as well. And you know, Harry Hill put them both in a room and get them to fight it out, but I don't think that works. But obviously they both can't be Jesus, and the Australian also says that Neil Donald Walsh isn't channeling God and it must be a spirit or something, because you never hear voices if it's Jesus. Now, they can't all be right, so this is my first point, is how many teachers can you follow if they all contradict each other? You have to use your own discretion and your own intuition. So that is the first point. You have to sort out the weeds from the plants. And you can only do that using your intuition, which is technically the highest form of knowledge, because it's above all other knowledge, but it takes many years sometimes before other people get evidence of what you've said, but science does not recognise it. But there have been things that I've known since I was very young, and you know, sooner or later I found virtually all the things that I just knew, you know, I'd never experienced them or been taught them, I just knew them, they turned out to be genuine. So that's a pretty good sign that our intuition, although science doesn't accept it, is perfectly genuine, and people just have to trust their own intuition if they can't trust somebody else's. So you use your intuition. So what I was thinking is, what would David Shaler or anybody else who claimed they were Jesus do to demonstrate it? So I went back through all my spiritual teachers that I've been to see over the years and divided them roughly into 3 overlapping sections, because they're all about evolution of the human consciousness and abilities and science, but they all do it from different angles. So you have the enlightened ones who say there's nothing that you should go for except enlightenment. Enlightenment is a state, it's the perfect state that we all should be in, where we accept everything exactly as it is, nothing changes except we're enlightened, whatever the hell that means. Then you get the other ones who are the adepts, one could call them, the magicians, who say, of course, if we are enlightened, which means realising that you are God basically, because God is omnipresent, so of course if God exists, which again is debatable, then of course you can't be separate from God, and enlightenment is just discovering that you're God. So both those situations are totally subjective, and you can't demonstrate them to anyone else. They go on trust, unless you're part of the magician thing, where you say, well, God, obviously, which is what Neil Donald Walsh says in Conversations with God, and Jesus also said, is that it's nothing to do with your ego that you get these psychic powers. These psychic powers are very simple, that basically you are in a position where everything that is coming out into this room that I'm aware of is coming from a projector, which is called God. And if you don't know it, you think you're a human being in 3 dimensions and everything that you see is all there is. Whereas once you've realised you're God, firstly you don't feel that you are just this body, which isn't even here unless I look at it, because I can't see it. All I'm aware of is everything else. So that technically is correct. I can't just be the body, but you are everything. That's the enlightenment thing. You become everything, and then eventually you probably lose the identity of who you were before as well. So that's the first step, and the one lot say, well, that's it, that you don't need to go any further. And then you've got the other lot, the higher lot, who say that you do, because of course once you realise you're God, you are the creator, and instead of just taking this pre-programmed film which is running the whole time, and you know, it's got its ups and downs, and of course we were designed with pain and pleasure, heaven and hell and all that, and it's all here right now. You don't have to die or go anywhere else. It's all here. If you just either take all the pleasure stuff, expand it and wipe out the negative, that would be heaven. So the Enlightenment people say it doesn't matter because I'm detached from it anyway once I'm enlightened, so I don't care what happens, which seems incredibly boring to me, but they say it isn't, but some of them then say it is after a while. And then otherwise you take this other path which resonates with me, and this is the third way as well that I was going to say about pure meditation for pleasure, same as taking drugs, but it's harmless, natural and grows with use rather than you feel less and less from the beginning onwards. It's not, none of them are particularly constant or reliable, because I've tried all the meditations and things for years, and it's very much the odd peak here and there, and then you get nothing, and various other phenomena. So I am speaking from experience of what my current teacher from the Higher Balance, Eric Pepin, says, that I've crossed the first step into the minor powers, where I can see a little bit of energy and auras and things in the air, and do clairvoyance and get loads of synchronicities and coincidences, but I can't do the major stuff which completely defies science. But having said that, quantum physics is now finding all the things, levitation, going faster than the speed of light, bilocation, all happen at the quantum level anyway, and they're doing it mechanically, and technology will probably be able to do half of it in 100 years. But the old schools of meditation, everything, yoga, all say that these powers are natural, and we do it without any technology if we just practice, and it's our own next stage of evolution. So I would say, using my own intuition, because I've got all these different teachers saying hundreds of different variations on the theme, you don't need to do anything, techniques won't get you enlightened, just listen to somebody talking like I'm talking. That's rubbish, because most of the enlightened teachers are only enlightened through doing years of constant work. So you see the results coming out from the effort, and that the conclusion they have is everything's perfect as it is. Well, I don't think it is, because my own life experience tells me the exact opposite. It tells me that our life has been a series of ups and downs, which we feel very much on a polarity, and I will extend that to the fourth dimension now, into dreams. Your dreams can be a lot worse or a lot better than real life, because obviously they're unlimited, and you get very disappointed when you wake up and find you've lost everything you got in the dream. You're very relieved when you wake up and find that your teeth are still there and your head hasn't dropped off. So if you take heaven on earth as the aim of the adept, rather than the basic oneness and I am everything of enlightenment, you'll go to the next stage of saying, well, okay, I've got this film running constantly from whoever programmed it, and if it's possible to change the script, or it hasn't even been written till this point, rather than just get the same ordinary mundane stuff I've had for the last 50 odd years, I'd like it to be a bit more exciting, like all the fairy stories and sci-fi films. And I would like to visit other dimensions and levitate and walk through walls and shapeshift, because it's a lot more fun than watching television and piddling around on the internet the whole time. There's obviously a lot more out there, and if you want to do it, then surely that would appeal to more people than not doing it. So I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with changing it from the point where you discover your God to saying, right, I'm creating, I'm going to do it consciously, which is what The Secret and loads of other things are teaching right now. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Never seen anyone who says it does, but so I suppose there needs to be proper studies taking place. So I would say, on the whole, if you use your intuition, you pick the stuff that's right for you. The yogis say that all these psychic powers are irrelevant and they are blockages on the way to enlightenment, but using my intuition, I would say that the heaven on earth that has been described in some books is completely down to stretching the positive to the infinity, like you get in the dreams. Everything is magnified, cutting off at neutral and dumping all the negative stuff, so all that stuff is gone, and only living in a world where you do have ups and downs, but you have this safety net where you can't go lower than a certain place. So the sort of things that they would say in these books and stories is that heaven is like Finchley but cleaner, which is not exactly an exaggeration. Everything is the same as it is here, but it's just you've got no dirt, no disease, no illness and no decay. So and everyone's nice to each other, more or less. So there's very little that isn't available right here, right now, and you don't have to die to get it, or risk death to get it. Now the second thing which is tied up in all this is where do the teachers get their information? Because David Shayler, claiming to be all these number one people, is doing his own form of channeling, and loads of people on the internet and people that I mix with in my work and my other interests claim to do channeling either from aliens, other dimensions, or dead people. So I say, well, all very well you're channeling, but again, what can you perform? Jesus walked on water. Can you turn loaves into fishes or do anything, or tell us how to have the free energy that they use to cross dimensions or get from A to B in 2 seconds flat? Well, not really. They are very much on your descriptive level. Oh yes, I went up in this ship and I can get information from them. They're telling me, don't do this and don't do that, and mundane things about my own life and what it's like on their planet, and how many floors they've got in their house, and that they've got curved walls where we've got straight walls. So what? You can watch any old cheap film and use your imagination to get all this. But when they say that they use the technology to get from here to there and how they communicate with us and all that, you think, well, obviously they have physical technology that we could make to punch out wormholes and do all the things they do and cross dimensions. I get little snippets of it from them, but very little more than that. None of these channelers have come through with anywhere near the information that you would really get if you were talking to somebody that was using a constant stream of communication from their dimension to our dimension, and just tell them where they should be going that evening, because the weather's going to be better over there than it is over there, if they even get it right. But the majority of stuff that people do channel is the sort of stuff that anybody could make up, and the stuff that they get right about bits and pieces is fairly trivial on the great scheme of things. It's certainly not up to the level you would expect from someone capable of travelling beyond the speed of light. Anyway, my own personal status at the moment is what Eric would say is level 1 out of 2 levels. I've crossed the line between 3D mundane life but not become an adept. I'm just at the basic lower powers rather than the higher powers. That means I can on occasionally see auras round objects, see energy in the air, and do your basic clairvoyance, which is quite easy to test, and if you get it right time after time. So those are the things, and I can experience way higher states very short term, very occasionally through meditation, which I know wouldn't happen otherwise, so they only happen when I meditate. So I know all of those things are definitely possible because I can do them myself. You only need to do it once to know it's possible, setting a precedent. Now the other things that happen, 2 different things. One of them is very easy to demonstrate, that in dreams I'm given huge amounts of information, the things that I couldn't do normally. Now they say if you're God, and of course this is just a solid dream where everything is consistent. Your other dreams are sort of mixed up dreams, but everything there. If you hear a piece of music in a dream that you've never heard before and you remember it and write it down, that's your piece of music. Goodness knows where you got it from, but it's just the same as if you composed it. Like Yesterday from Paul McCartney, and various whole complete operas were purely written from waking up and writing them down. I can do that. I've had loads of information, as in names and places through dreams, where they give me foreign places and names that are so obscure that I could only find them one entry on the internet, and that's pretty hard in itself. So there is this definite thing where I can channel stuff in my dreams, if nothing else, where I do get things where I can demonstrate it's possible to myself. I don't need to prove it to anyone else, because if I can, great, but if I can't, go and do it for yourself and see it, then you don't need me or anyone else to show you. So those are the things that are possible, and it does inspire you to think, well, there's probably an awful lot more. Now the other thing that happens to me where I don't have any control over it at all is where you get phases of anything, which I've always had, where you get good news or bad news, or things breaking or whatever else, or you get all your letters in one go, or all your customers in one go, and nothing for ages, and then another week where you get loads of new ones, and then you lose them all at once, and then get weeks without them, then new ones, etc, etc. Everything happens in bunches. That is supposed to be because of energy, that you get different phases of energy where certain things, the doors are open for that, and then they close and then they open. and that again is like the film, it's going on outside rather than inside, but you're not in control of it yet. And the other one is the synchronicity of words and phrases, where this has been happening for a few years with plenty of witnesses, and of course once they see it happening to me, they'll see it happening themselves, because they become part of it. So I'll be sitting writing or reading something, and the same words that I'm reading and writing come up on the radio, not once a week but about 3 or 4 times a day. Now, you know, like the clairvoyance, I expect it now because it's a normal part of my life. I don't care how or why it happens, but it's clearly not scientific, because you'd need somebody to arrange everything in the whole world for that to happen. And, you know, 3 or 4 people ring me regularly and say when it happens to them, they can't believe it, because unlike me, they weren't particularly open to it to start with until it started happening in front of them. So the final thing that's happening to me is being guided to lost items, things that I would never have found otherwise, where it's a 5 or 6 step stage. One of these items I even dreamed about before I found it, even though I'd never seen it before to my knowledge. It's exactly as it was in the dream. And you're going down a road, for example, and you take a wrong turning where you haven't got the map, and you take a turning you would never have gone down otherwise, and it takes you to that exact item that you need, that you would never have found had you had the map that you meant to bring, and you hadn't gone in a certain direction or been held up and sent down a road that you shouldn't do. For instance, one of them, I was driving around Westminster, and I wanted to go to Aldwych, and the road was blocked on the Strand, so I had to go turn around and go up Whitehall, and the thing I was looking for was right in front of me, which was supposed to be in the square outside the House of Parliament, and somebody had given slightly the wrong address, and it turned out it was just 100 yards away, but it was on Whitehall. And of course the only reason I went to Whitehall is because I couldn't go up the Strand to Aldwych, where I was supposed to be going, and this bloody thing that I wanted, this old road sign, was just at the beginning of Whitehall and not on the square around Parliament. And another time, because I collect these old road signs, so it's a very good clue, I found 2 or 3 of them on the route to other ones that I didn't even know were there, and I've taken wrong turnings. This one with the map, I was driving through Kent, and I was supposed to be going one way and coming back another way, because my photos go on the Ordnance Survey map, so the more places you go to, the more credit you get, so I always try and go in a different way and come back in a different way to double the amount of area that I've covered. So I thought there was one road to this village going one way and one road back, and I'd take the other one. So I took the first road on the right because I didn't have the map with me. Right in front of me was this sign. Now I go on Street View and check all the roads before I go. I hadn't seen it. Turns out there were 3 roads. The only reason I went on this first road because I didn't know it was there, and I hadn't looked on it for some reason, and I didn't have the map, and it turned out it was the 3rd one, and I was expecting to go on the 2nd one. And another time, the final one, I was driving to see something which was on a pole, but it was already, there's an old picture about 4 years old, halfway down the pole, and I thought, oh my god, that's going to fall off. And I thought, well, I'm going to go anyway because it's the only one I know in the whole country. So I drove down to look for it and drove around the road, and it wasn't there, and I thought, oh my god, I've driven all this way and it's not there, I'm in trouble. So what I did was, I thought, well, I'm going to turn round. Why did I turn round? Because I was going to go back a different way, again to cover twice as much ground, but instead I thought, well, a mile back round the road there was another sign which looked like there's about a 5% chance it was another old one, and I'd check it on the way back. So rather than go all the way back on another route, I'd turn around and check this other sign because I didn't want to come back empty-handed just in case. Anyway, so halfway back down this road, I take pictures every kilometre. I'm not into metric, but the Ordnance Survey map changes squares every kilometre, so I try and stop and take a picture every kilometre, which is the relevant reason for I'm telling you this story. I thought, well, there's a place I can park here on this bend because it's very safe to park. Everywhere else wasn't, so I thought this is the only place I can park. I stopped there, looked out of the window, and the sign that I was looking for was on the ground opposite me, because it had fallen off its pole because it rusted away and the little holes in the pole had fallen down, and it was lying on flat on the floor. How long it had been there I don't know, but had I not actually gone back that way to see the other sign and stopped in that exact spot because the sign was only that big, if if I hadn't stopped in that exact spot and looked out the driver's window to the other side of the road and seen it lying there, I wouldn't have a picture of it now, even though it would have been there. So I got the pole, bunged it in the ground as best I could, leaned it up against the pole and took a picture of it. Now, you know, that was about the third or fourth time the same type of thing has happened to me. So that's the exact story, so you know exactly how it works. And there is an awful lot going on directing me, certainly, in the last few years than I could ever have arranged myself. So those are my own current positions. I can't claim to be enlightened because I'm not, but I can recommend the 3 different types of teachers that teach you it, and you pick the one that suits you. And that's just about it. But if all these people claim to channel or be reincarnations, get them to demonstrate it, and if they can't, you know, weed them out. And you know, if you're interested in this sort of thing, then of course you'll be watching this and want someone to teach you, and there's plenty out there, and higher balance doesn't cost anything anyway. You don't have to pay for a lot of the teaching, so no axe to grind on me. I'm recommending him because he delivers, and you know, at least he claims to be able to do all the things I want to do and not leave any stone unturned. So I hope you've learnt something from this, and good luck, and let me know in the comments box if you've got any questions, because the ideal thing about these things is if you can do them with a whole bunch of people who can put their hands up at the end. You have the comment boxes to do so. Thank you.